Welcome ladies and gentlemen to a casted game of Age of Empires 4, and today in the south corner of the map we've got demulsim playing in red as the Abbasid dynasty. He's going to be going up against none other than Ravenholm, playing in the north in green as the French. Welcome ladies and gentlemen to Dry Arabia, where we have two fantastic civilizations in Age of Empires 4 going toe to toe, and actually both civilizations have had a lot of changes done to them in the PUP. The public update preview, that's what we're watching today. A preview into what's in store for us for Season 4 for Age of Empires 4. And today, with the Abbasid dynasty, a lot of the changes for the civilizations revolves around their landmark, the House of Wisdom. And, well, as we know, with the House of Wisdom, we have various wings: the trade wing, military wing, economic wing, culture wing, and each wing have had some changes. So the trade wing in particular spawns 3 traders once the construction is complete, and House of Wisdom now actually acts as a home market. And that's actually kind of interesting because they do have that trade post there right next to them. The Abbasid dynasty today, that could be an option. Looking at other options though, we have the economic wing where another technology has been added called Fertile Crescent, which costs 25 food and 75 gold, but reduces the wood and stone cost of economic buildings and houses by 25%. And now you might be asking, does that count for town centers? And indeed it does. So the town centers are now a lot cheaper, well, 25% cheaper. And the fresh foodstuffs technology that used to be in the House of Wisdom has now been moved to the town center. As you can see, has been nerfed a little bit. Used to be able to produce villages 2 for the price of 1, but now it's just a reduction of 35%. I say just, but that's still a very significant reduction in the cost of villages, and it will be the economic wing that the Muslim decides to go to the feudal age with today on Dry Arabia. Looking over to the French side of things, well, we have got the Chamber of Commerce, a landmark which we hardly ever see, but we're seeing more, interestingly, in 1v1 games, and that's because of the buff that it's got in the public update preview, which is the fact that with each economic technology that is researched for the French, they get a trader for free. And don't forget as well, the French do actually get their eco upgrades for cheaper than other civilizations, so that's something to bear in mind as well. And having free traders, well, can't say no to that. And what's interesting though is that Szalami is going to need to place another market elsewhere across the map, because the neutral trade post, well, it's right next door. Maybe a market here in the corner could be useful for Szalami, but it looks like it's going to be the eco wing for the Abbasid dynasty versus the trade for the French. And I'm super excited to see how this goes. Now, something that I've kind of latched upon in terms of having a think about the civilization changes. The economic wing, you know, Fertile Crescent is a technology that demulsim will get in this next stage, and it's going to reduce the cost of his town centers. And there's an argument to be made that, well, once 3 town centers used to not really be a thing, like you could never really make it to 3 town centers particularly easily, it could be an option. Not only that, whilst getting that second town center might not come necessarily a lot earlier than it used to, because, you know, it used to cost 350 stone. Well, it still does cost 350 stone, but, you know, when you get the Fertile Crescent upgrade, it does reduce it by 25%. And, you know, you probably end up getting potentially 350 stone quite comfortably once you get to the next stage. You know, obviously, demulsim doesn't have that at the moment. It's because he's been focusing on other resources, and that's really the benefit of that cheaper cost of the town centers. It allows demulsim to focus a bit more on wood, a bit more on food, a bit more on gold as well, and perhaps get some earlier units out to defend that second town center. But I mean, the way it's going, it looks like he's going for a second town center, and we shall see if he decides to go even greedier. The French have got a trader queued up as well, so that trader will be gathering quite a decent amount of gold. That's the neutral market, placed kind of in between the 2 players actually. That's a little bit awkward there for Szalami, but it does have a longer trade route, so the gold income should be pretty decent for that. Yeah, 128 gold, not too shabby. As we see a lot more villagers going out to stone for demulsim. That signals maybe more than just 1 town center extra. We shall see. And don't forget, it's the wood cost that's changed as well. You know, it used to be 300. Actually, no, it's just, yeah, yes, it is. It used to be 400 wood for a town center, so 300 wood is you know, 100 wood saving. And there's that second town center on the stone. And that's interesting, because usually you'd expect that second town center to go on, say, like deer or a food source or a wood source. Instead, demulsim's looking and opting to protect that town center, or that stone, maybe for another town center. And what's super fascinating about this is that, well, the House of Wisdom is not a landmark that gives away the move of the player. And what's nice about the Abbasid dynasty is that they have options. Whilst we are seeing a town centre expansion today by demulsim, they do have other options. For example, the culture wing, which actually now enables the preservation of knowledge to actually change the upgrades costs for things like age ups. So the age up for the castle age is now cheaper with the preservation of knowledge technology from the culture wing. And because you cannot see what landmark or what wing the player is going up with, by the time your player playing the Abbasid dynasty gets to that next stage, you kind of, you kind of miss the scouting time. So, demulsim could have gone for culture wing and szalami wouldn't have known about it. And why that's significant is the concealment of that second or maybe even third town centre, unless you park your scout there on the stone. And speaking of parking your scout there on the stone, well, he dies quite quickly. But lots more villagers on the stone, and that certainly means it's going to be a third town centre. But the reason why this is really significant is because whilst we always used to know that the Abbasid dynasty used to go to town centres, everything that's really generally what they used to do. Now with Fast Castle possibly an option for the Abbasid dynasty, it does make your opponents or whoever is playing against the Abbasid dynasty think twice about their strategy, because, as we saw here, the French are going for trade. Now the way to punish booming is to be aggressive, and we see a third town centre going to be built soon for demulsim. And so now with this possibility of this option of having a third town centre, or is it going to go Fast Castle, it means the French won't necessarily know how to react. And so that's something to bear in mind, which is kind of interesting. I'd love to see how that kind of meta unfolds, because of course now the French are looking to be aggressive now that he knows that that second town centre expansion has come along. And now even a third town centre. Of course, for the aggression, it would have actually been better to go for the School of Cavalry. But, szalami wasn't to know this, and so this is where things become really interesting in the dynamics. Because the pressure that szalami will be able to apply is just a little bit more reduced compared to if he went with the School of Cavalry, of course, because he had to invest in a stable. He's just getting a couple of knights out now. That is his third knight, to be fair. But, we're reaching the 8-minute mark here, and that third town centre is now up and running as a static defense. It's going to be quite strong. And szalami is going to need time to react. He's going to need time to actually build up the forces to be aggressive. And so he's invested in trade, and trade generally takes a while to pay for itself back. But it can pay back very, very nicely once it gets up and running. Especially the fact that trade is often free. So this is an interesting one. I wonder whether szalami has enough time to punish this. Because also going for 3 town centres as opposed to just 2. Well, szalami will focus on the second town centre that's been built. That's generally what's closest, maybe even this one. Either way, he's going to focus on the additional expansions. That's going to take time. He's going to need rams, and demulsim will start to build a villager lead. And don't forget, he can still produce buildings and units, because the villager cost for him is reduced by 35%. And that's courtesy of the fresh foodstuff technology that he has. And certainly that is a big buff to the Abbasid dynasty, because generally we used to see players go for the economic wing primarily for the fresh foodstuffs technology, but that's now in the town centre, so you're pretty much going to be getting that by default, I think, as the Abbasid dynasty. As the barracks and 2 stables come out there for demulsim. Oh, three barracks and 2 stables. And this is something special about the Abbasid dynasty. Their food income, can really be focused on units. Primarily because of that fresh foodstuff technology, but the French do have a lot of units on the field, 13 versus 4, and looks like the aggression might start to kick in here. But again, it comes down to that fact that House of Wisdom kind of conceals your plan, and had szalami known about this super greed earlier on, he might have thought twice about going for the trade wing, the trade landmark rather, the Chamber of Commerce. But it's something that the Abbasid have in their armory, the concealment of their strategy. To a certain extent. Of course, going on the stone would have revealed a second town centre expansion would have been on the cards. $52 villagers to 44. Significant lead kind of building up, but the military lead certainly in favour of szalami right here, as we see knights and rams popping out now with spears. Second round popping out, and don't forget the spearmen for the the Abbasid dynasty particularly strong with the phalanx, which increases the attack range of spearmen by 100%. Makes it a bit harder for knights to get away. And each knight lost for the French is quite painful. They're very expensive units, these knights. As we see, nice bit of deer economy at the back for demulsim, and looks like Szalami is looking to get some upgrades for his archers as well that are probably going to be heading across the field soon. Does have double archery range. The traders are starting to, you know, do a bit of work here for Szalami, getting a decent amount of gold. 128 to be exact. Here comes the first wave of a push. 3 rams, which is not a bad start. And I think this town centre might go down pretty quickly, actually, because there's no villagers garrison inside. It doesn't look like the Muslim has enough to fight this off just yet. And I think this just buys the Muslim some time. I think he doesn't mind losing this town centre too much. Well, I'm sure he does, but it buys him some time. Holy smokes, that goes down pretty quickly. There are quite a few melee units there added into the mix, in addition to the 3 rams, though. Slowly but surely, the Muslim is building up a large number of units. And might even look to be able to defend this pretty nicely if he can get a good lead of military units. He's actually going to garrison his military units. I like this because I'm not sure if Szalami saw that. And that will conceal... I think he probably did see that. But in any case, it conceals the military. He might be fooled into thinking these are villagers. The villagers for demulsim, he doesn't actually have a single idle villager. That's key. These villagers that have been built, they're still working. Still gathering resources, still gathering food, still gathering wood. And that's all that demulsim needs right now. A 4th ram does come out for the French, looking to be aggressive here. Pretty strong as a push here. Relatively equal numbers of military, but as time goes on, these villages will gather more resources that it can produce out of. Production buildings might be the next aspect of the attack that Szalami focuses on, and that's exactly what happens. The villagers heading towards the town centre. We will have some idle time now, with the villagers at least, but Szalami might have forgotten that there are actually 15 units in this town centre, and what's really interesting and I like about this play is that, well, Szalami's going to head into that that main capital town centre, and those 15 units are going to pop out, and they could get a really good surround on this attack, and that would be problematic for Szalami to say the least. As the horsemen do start to venture out, pulling the knights away just a little bit. Spearmen are on hand, maybe try and cut them off. Now the House of Wisdom is pretty close by. Don't forget, for a victory, landmark victory, French, all they need to do is take this capital town centre and this House of Wisdom down, which might actually end up happening. We'll have to see houses going down as well. That's just, you know, causing some problems for the infrastructure. Villagers on gold are moving away now. Heading further towards the north, more barracks coming out just to replace those production buildings that were lost. Here comes the big push though. 4 rams, spearmen and knights there for Szalami. Horsemen and spearmen there for demulsim. And there are 15 units garrisoned inside the town centre. Those are going to pop out any minute now, I think. And this could be an opportune time for demulsim to take a fight. He does have a good number of units. Villagers coming into the fight as well, and that could be huge. Villagers going to focus on the rams. Spearmen and horsemen going to dive in. The spearmen are getting a good engagement there for the French. There are no archers there for the Abbasid dynasty. Villagers fighting the rams off. I think he's just going to commit here. Villagers going to burn down the rams. Knights are getting a good hit on the villagers. Villagers going down for demulsim, but still has a villager lead. The horsemen are going to try and focus on the knights, you feel, with the spearmen in behind. And this is a really good fight for demulsim. He is taking the fight, and well, the town centre is firing away all in the meantime. He's got 15 villagers inside. He swapped the military for the villagers to take the space inside the town centre. The garrison back inside. The knights are heading back because look at the military lead now. It's 40-17. And demulsim has got the French on the run. Villagers heading towards the berries, and he's quite happy to do so. A lot of villagers there, 28 of them on berries. Food is not going to be a problem for the Abbasid dynasty. A good night charge, but no villagers taken down. Textiles, of course, must be in there for demulsim. It is indeed. And he's got 2 town centres still functioning. Trade is up and running though. As I say that, the horsemen are heading to that position. I'm going to be cutting off a couple of traders here. And that's a problem for Szalami. He is behind, and quite massively. He's behind in eco and military. And that 3rd town centre expansion came super fast. That's really helped. Holy smokes, a lot more villagers on stone again. 14, and he's just going to... I have a feeling that demulsim's just going to put more town centres. And this is a strong hit push here for demulsim. He can afford to do this. He's got the units. Got so many spearmen. Going to be cutting off the trade route. Knights are trying to defend some of the traders, but the spears are just going to dive in. They're going to focus on the spears that are there for the French and some of the villagers on the deer. Those villagers do move back. There are archers on the back line for the French, but I'm not sure they're going to survive for too long. The spears are just too many in numbers, and they're going to head in. They're going to get a good wrap around against the archers. Horsemen are there too. Knights are nowhere to be found. The knights are there looking to protect the trade, but the well, the market's been burnt down. And the spearmen there going to focus. Wow, this is a big pushback by demulsim, and he's got the villager lead as well. A 20 villager lead and a more than 20 army lead. And here comes a problem for Szalami. His production builders are going to go down. And now it's Szalami that's on defensive, and the problem for Szalami is that, well, his economy in the form of traders is a lot more riskier than the 3 town centers that demulsim has. You can always garrison inside those town centers. There's a 3rd town center, a 4th town center going straight close to each other, and there's just no way that, well, how does Szalami push this? Because the town centers, they're producing villages, but they're also acting as a really strong static defense, and this strategy seems a little bit broken at this point. The town centers are just too cheap, it feels. And don't forget, it's not just the town centers being cheap, the villages are cheap too. And demulsim's just going to focus on these production buildings, making Szalami have to reinvest their wood. He's got plenty of wood in the bank though, to be fair, but those villagers could have been doing other things. As a couple of horsemen do now die, a lot of villagers on the deer pack. Quite a few knights there, just chilling. There are 6 spears though. They won't be able to take them all out, but they'll do some damage as now demulsim continues the attack on the infrastructure of the French, taking down houses now, making Szalami have to reinvest wood into these buildings. As the knights do charge in, there's a lot of villagers there right for the taking. Does get a good charge attack. The trouble is with 4 town centers, I mean, demulsim's not going to really mind too terribly about losing villages. It's not the ideal thing, but he's taking good trades against knights, and a heck of a lot of spears just came out of nowhere. It's 4 town centers now up and running for the Abbasid dynasty. Villager lead will be starting to really start to climb. 84 to 59. Feels like this game might be slipping out of the French position now. Not sure if they can win this. Not with this eco advantage that the Abbasid dynasty have today. Spears just continuously engaging, and demulsim's quite happy to just dive with these units. There's no villagers garrisoned inside the town centre, so he's getting great value. Not only that, he's keeping his opponent at bay, he's keeping his economy running, and back at home, that economy is running. Almost a 30 villager lead. Trade has been shut down. And this is just a massive push. A lot of weak horsemen. I think the horsemen will start to dwindle in numbers. Szalami having to rely on a very weak trade route here, and demulsim's going to just try and get every last trader that he can. There's quite a few spearmen. Spearmen chasing the knights. They were probably better off going to the villages here on the woodline, but I think demulsim's probably doing other things, probably macroing at this point. 4 town centers. That is absolutely insane. There is a farming transition coming in now for demulsim. But, you know, demulsim's economy looking so strong here. Look at the food income per minute, especially when you compare it to the French. Now, it's not often the case that you see the Abbasid dynasty being able to take advantage of pocket economies here, looking to get those deer. It's usually the French that are able to do that, but the map control really is in the grasp of the Abbasid dynasty, and it comes down to the fact they just have such a strong economy pumping out these units. And take a look at this, ladies and gents. Demulsim is going to be going up to the castle age, going up with the culture wing, which will unlock preservation of knowledge, which will increase or reduce the cost of all the technologies by 20%. And that's including the age up. The imperial age will be even cheaper now. Traders making a move across the map again for Szalami. Has a bit of breathing space. It does have a wall coming up as well, palisades. We'll be walling to the wood line. He's trying to re-establish his position here. Now the French are looking to actually keep up here. Does have 67 villagers. I say keep up, but he's doing his best he can. The town centre does work faster for the French. That's one thing he's got going. But when you're kind of up against 4 town centres, that's a little bit much. As the knights do make it into the back of the economy of the Abbasid dynasty, spearmen and knights. The army just caught out of position there for demulsim. Does send the army back now with the horsemen and spearmen. Szalami will be looking to just keep this economy idle just for a bit longer at least. Trying to get as much value as he can, burning down some farms, but the army do come back, and he's going to get good wrap around there. Spears engage against the spears, horsemen too, and I think the knights are going to get away with it, but trouble is, for the French, is that demulsim is the next stage, and whilst the French have a lot of gold income, they don't have a lot else going for them, and this is the issue about trade. You get lots of gold and you end up going to have to sell that or buy other resources that he needs. But with 4 town centers, villagers are doing what they want for the Abbasid dynasty. They're gathering multiple of the resources, a bit more of a balanced economy. And look at the food and wood. At this point, demulsim is firmly in control of this game, and another strong push is possibly coming in for the French. But don't forget, these are feudal age units, and look at the upgrades coming in for demulsim. His economy absolutely rocking and rolling. Getting camel rider shields with the camels, improving their the armor. Getting a heck of a lot of eco upgrades as well. Getting agriculture just to add to the mix. Don't forget, farms are cheaper as well. 56 wood, and that's because of the preservation of knowledge technology. I'm going up with the eco wing earlier, and the feudal age means that he has access to agriculture now. It's got 32 military. Technically has less military on the field, but these are better upgraded units. These are veteran units. Here comes another push for Szalami, getting 4 rams. It does look tricky here though for Szalami. It just feels like this eco approach for the Abbasid dynasty is looking incredibly strong, even against technically a very aggressive civilization in the French. Here it happens though, the knights and the rams and the archers and the spearmen all coming in for the French. Should be able to take these 2 town centers out pretty quickly, but the problem is it's just, you know, it gives time. It gives time for demulsim just to build up the army, and that's what he's doing. He's getting all the upgrades he wants from the blacksmith. With these being veteran units, these knights will not stand a chance, not against these spearmen. Takes the fight, knights are diving in. It's just a really expensive fight there for the French. There are archers on the back line. The archers are going to try and focus on the spears as best they can, but the camel riders coming out. For the Abbasid dynasty are just going to push this back, you feel. The rams aren't going to be able to achieve too much more, you feel, because they've taken out 2 town centers, but the army there overwhelmed. The French are going to have to head back. The archers aren't going to be enough. Spearmen are joining the fight, but possibly a little bit too little too late, especially now that there are man-at-arms. Man-at-arms being added, a huge play for the Abbasid dynasty. My god, as soon as they're taking down those town centers, they're popping back up again. Another one on the gold, and yeah, these town centers are pretty cheap. Who needs keeps when you can get town centers? Another one coming up again. He's just going to replace them. 2 lost, 2 more added. And he's adding another one. I've lost count now. That's 4, 5 town centers he's going to have on the go. And I mean, he can't even produce villages. That he doesn't have the population space for this. Get the feeling that demulsim's just toying with his food a little bit now, as a knight does actually start to harass the villagers on berries. But this is incredible. The village count is going to skyrocket, and well, demulsim's going to be up to the Imperial Age any moment now. Can afford it with the food, even producing out so many town centers. And there it is. He's going to go up with the military wing. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, the military wing have had some changes. It spawns units depending on which age you are, and you know, going to the Imperial Age, he'll be having 3 hand cannoneers spawning as soon as he hits that next age. Now, it has to be brought in consideration, camel rider shields used to be part of the military wing, but now it's actually available in stables as well. So it's kind of interesting because a lot of the technologies that used to be unlocked by the wings for the Abbasid dynasty are now moved to stock buildings like this stable and the town center for fresh foodstuffs. So that's kind of incredible because it makes way for extra technologies. Okay, now this is just getting silly now. I think that's 8. Wait, how many? My god. Okay, I think that's 10 TCs. That's the new meta, ladies and gents, for the Abbasid dynasty. 10 town centers. He's really showing the power of the Abbasid dynasty economy. And there it is. There's the GG. I think Szalami knew this was over. There we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you think of this game and this commentary and this strategy. I get the feeling that this is a little bit broken. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Take care and see you next time.